What is up, all you gamers? Hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to the same time, same day, every single week podcast known as the Esports Rewind. We hope you guys are all enjoying yourself. How are you doing, Hunter boy?
Doing good. You look like you're in the Arctic today somehow. I don't know. It's like 75 degrees outside.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those freaking moods. We hope you guys all enjoy. We got a lot of great spicy stories to talk about at length. Let's get into it. What's an Esports Rewind without talking about one of your biggest Twitch streamers, that being Nickmercs, gave us a taste of, well, we've always questioned the best trash talk in all of esports. I think largely answered to has been Gears of War space, which ironically so Nickmercs revealed this past week. A little detail as to why Gears trash talk really was superior back in the day.
It's just so funny, especially knowing who Nick is now, thinking about where he came from and when he was back in, you know, the MLG Gears of War scene, and he's talking about, it was one of the funniest clips I've seen, I think.
We should be over monitors like this. Looking for his mom. Where's your mother? Where's your mom? Where's she at? I started looking for her in the crowd. This your son? You brought him here? Oh, what a waste of money. Brought him here. Why you bring him here? To lose to me.
Hopefully Pete can put that in.
Real mature, man.
Yeah, don't you ever tell me how to live my life again.
But when he's talking about, hey, I used to get up over the monitor and just get in their faces and be like, where's your mom? Where's your mom at? And just trash talk and be like, why did you bring your son here? Just to lose. Why'd you even bring him here? And it's just so funny to imagine someone like Nickmercs getting up in people's faces like that during Gears of War.
In between every round, there was 20 seconds. Oh my God, that 20 seconds would feel like a lifetime if you were against me. You know you're playing me. You would know. I'll let you know. And then as I'm fucking out shotgunning, Scott, these kids don't know, man. Oh my God, bro. We should start chants. Choke, 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 choke. Is he gonna fucking cry? Are you crying? Oh, it's nuts.
You know, for me, it instantly thinks back to Nickmercs has talked about when him and Ninja almost fought on LAN, like got into a little bit of a brawl. So it makes me not wonder what Nick. I feel like Nick, you know, getting over the monitor might have been a few extra steps up, but also I think about he's a pretty intimidating guy, right?
Yeah.
I think about Ninja, trying to think about a guy like Tyler saying that kind of crap way back in like what H1Z1 days. I just wonder what caused that kind of trash talk to fall off, and if we ever saw that again today. I feel like there'd be mixed reactions, but it'd be pretty freaking funny.
This guy. See, chat? This is why I wanted to kick his ass 5 years ago, because he doesn't want to shut the up.
Exactly, dude. Let's see this, dude.
Well, I think we know the reactions because every once in a while we'll see a little bit of a Ninja's hyper come back into the scene, and
it is so split.
Right, exactly. Some people are like, oh, I'm so glad the old Ninja's back and the way he used to trash talk and be crazy. But even I think last week I saw Ninja tweet reacting to some of his old clips and how like awful he found it and how he was like disgusted by it. But thinking back to how those guys used to be, I definitely agree. Today's landscape has just changed so much that I don't think it can return to where it used to be, even if a lot of people would love that.
And that's the number one lesson. Don't let your mom bring you to an event. But again, back then, I guess we still have a lot of young pros out there who need to be escorted or not escorted.
Now just don't bring your mom. Escorted. I'm escorting you. Your mom's escorting you. It's bad. It's a bad day.
It's a really bad day. Nickmercs showing why Gears trash talk is the superior and the best in esports. What do y'all think about it? Another week, another cheater out there. This cheater going down in a bit of, I almost said style, but also some snitching out there in the Call of Duty space as we slowly approach the release, I guess, Call of Duty Vanguard. That being here, anti-cheat, well, not quite yet. It's just ironic now at times, but this past week, a little event involving some OpTic boys, some Dallas boys. We'll talk about that in a second. And a good old cheater also being called out.
This is one of the, we say this every time that we find out about cheaters. One of the boldest things I've seen in a long time. And I think this guy upped the ante a little bit because not only was he streaming live while using hacks, again, lesson to all you hackers out there, don't do that. But he was playing against other pro players. He's playing against OpTic, like you said. Like, how are you going to play against Scump and Shotzi and decide to use cheats live on stream?
There's no chance someone tries to cheat against us though, because if they get caught cheating against us, they're literally chalked.
Yeah.
So like, if you're cheating against us, like you better hide that shit.
Yeah, you better hide it real fucking good.
Or you're gone forever. and you will not come back under any alias.
We will find you.
You will be gone forever if you cheat against them.
You're playing against the best identifiers of cheaters. That is not an anti-cheat. If a pro player calls you sus, you know for a fact you're going to be put out there, put under a scope that you weren't before. But then again, you're streaming them. You're streaming it with them. Like we've seen this being exposed dozens of times now. So evidently, you know, if you don't know how to hide it, you're going to get caught. But if you're playing against pros, nonetheless, OpTic guys, and they're sus about you, you got to know the whole internet's going to go after you. Even if you don't expose yourself, you're going to be exposed in some way in the future.
And just for some clarity, if people didn't happen to watch the other video, we got to see him while he was streaming. You don't see it on the actual screen, but he has a little cam that shows all of his screens. And up in that screen where he's planting the bomb, you see a white name cross a wall. And that was Shotzi before Shotzi rounded the corner. And so people were like, wait a second. What was that line that was following the players? Of course, that's wall hacks. You get to see walls. And the crazy part is before this, Scump calls him out and says, because, you know, there's whisperings of it, some rumors. And he says, hey, if you're going to do this, man, don't do it against us because you're never going to come back from this. You're going to be burnt from the scene and like we're going to catch you, like you said.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you mentioned this. Wasn't this a week or two ago? This same name, Shiv, was mentioned before. I can't remember what the context was, but some Call of Duty player mentioned that it was Shiv. And it might have been in a wager or a custom.
Maybe. I know I saw Doug tweet about Shiv, I think about a week ago.
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, just again for clarity, this is not Shiv FPS. This is Shiv G2K.
Yes.
GTK, sorry. And so not the Apex player, just so he doesn't get any heat from this.
That would be nuts, though.
I know. And then
not true.
The wild part, right, which you alluded to already, is he decided he was going down, sink in with the ship, and he decided to throw out, you know, a bunch of other names. He left a list on Twitter. Left a list. That seems weird. He tweeted out a list on Twitter of all these other names of supposed other players who compete in this professional scene. I know people are already giving me heat for calling it a pro scene. They're like, they're amateurs, not pros. But he leaves a list of everyone that is cheating, which take with a grain of salt, right?
Dude, like you just, you don't see this kind of stuff. Like you do not see outside of Call of Duty what you see in freaking, it's just nuts. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. This is a snitch. This is a guy who's going down a sinking ship, just trying to call out names. So some of the players on the list, I believe, have had accusations. But if you're going to make this list, I mean, there's no actual evidence to the point where it was Shiv who got exposed.
Yeah.
And so you got to really take it with a grain of salt. You have a cheater who is going to have nothing left in the future. He has nothing to lose. So, of course, he's going to name some names, albeit it does really make you wonder about some of the names on the list, which is it's a sucky part for those involved.
One thing I'll say is that two things that I saw was Replay, someone who's on the list, actually tweeted out an image of his conversation with Shiv. And after that list came out saying, hey, like, when have I ever hacked? And then Shiv responded saying that it was just to like mess with people. The whole thing was just to mess with people. And then, of course, we saw other pros or previous pros. We saw Haggy as well as Clay like stand up for a couple of the names. I think one was Boo and someone else. I can't remember both the names, saying there's no way these guys have cheated. They've been around for so long and like we all know them so well. There's no way that they've been cheating. And so it's just a messy situation. And if I'm one of those people on the list, especially if I know myself and I'm not cheating, I'm so angry at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And they deserve to be pissed off. It's interesting because there's so many angles of approach. I do believe the pro players standing up for a lot of the names on the list. I'm not going to trust the list. But for me, you know, if it's an obvious troll, he would have been saying, you know, Symphony, Shroud, Mutex, Aiden, you know, name the really well-known names, but he didn't. He went out of his way to name individuals that I think a lot of people would not have known about. So that part to me is curious, but I'm not going to trust a goddamn cheater. You lose all your trust when you get caught and exposed for that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, the list to me is just a funny thing. It's like, yeah, nice try. You got caught. None of them have been caught, as I think at the point of us recording. So we'll see what happens next. It just, every single Call of Duty cheater story just heightens. And this one in particular was quite crazy. A feel-good story out there happens in CSGO. I saw you tweet out this past weekend that you apparently have a couple esports you enjoy watching. I chose, you know, your timing you chose to tweet about Rainbow Six and Apex Legends almost had me respond to your tweet, but I just sat back and I relaxed and watched a CSGO major, which was breaking viewership records. If you guys missed it this past weekend, PGL major for CSGO, a large debate about, you know, dead game, and of course it's not a dead game, and the comparison to Valorant numbers, CSGO breaking numbers time and time again. I believe 2.5 million concurrents in the grand finals of G2. versus NAVI. Some great matchups. I'm not going to dive into the specificity of those matchups, but the fact is that s1mple has now come away with his first ever CSGO major, solidifying his legacy. Boomich, one of the NAVI players, proposing to his girl on stage after winning the major. It just showcases just how great FPS games in general are, and CSGO included, as well as Valorant. And it just caused a lot of debates out there, right? About we got a lot of great esports to be watching, and CSGO is still certainly one of the best.
I'll say the first lesson we learned from this is if you are a gamer and you want a girlfriend to maybe turn into your wife, win a major first, and then you have the right to propose.
That's literally all you have to do. It took s1mple what? This long? You can do it.
So s1mple can now get married
s1mple can
at this
now
point.
get married.
But to defend myself a little bit, I'll say I don't have any emotional attachment to CSGO like a lot of people do. I didn't follow it a long time ago, so I don't have any attachment to all these names that have been trying for years, right? Like having s1mple, who has been doing this for so long and just been gunning for this. And so it is really rewarding to see that, even if I don't have an attachment to it. But it is crazy then to see that backlash from everyone. I don't know how it turned into a Valorant versus CSGO again, because a lot of people, of course, were speculating about, oh, CSGO still pools. Are Valorant people maybe going to start going back to CSGO at this point?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, because we saw players both from the Valorant space and CSGO space, either from players who did not make the major or maybe were cut short, or a lot of Valorant players who made the early switch, especially some North American guys had tweeted out like, man, I'm missing CS, or CS is kind of making me kind of think about some things. The post CSGO major roster shuffle is going to be crazy. It's already started with Vitality and Astralis. It's already started with some North American players like Fallen and Stewie. So thanks to Nell and Rushby Media, both those outlets reporting some big moves. That also, of course, coinciding with slowly approaching champions, we are going to see. I mean, it's so wild to think we're at a time where we're going to be post major for CSGO. In a month and a half or a month, we're going to be past champions for Valorant. We are going to see a post-world shuffle for two of your biggest FPS games in the world, where players can easily interchange, go back and forth. So it's going to be nuts.
It'll be interesting just to see who jumps ship on each one of them. Like, some people might even be thinking in the CS scene, oh, well, I'm not s1mple. Like, we weren't at that level. Maybe the lower level of Valorant is easier than the lower level, or better for them than the lower level of CSGO competition.
Yeah, which again, we're not geniuses. All right,
No.
we don't know. And then also you talk about North America, right? If you're a North American pro, are you better off in Valorant now than you are to CSGO? Because, or if you're a North American org, are you trying to bounce back into CSGO and say, hey, I want to be a piece of that because there was no North American representation that made it that far in the major. We want to be the team. But there's still the gigantic cost. I mean, for both esports now, it's just so incredibly expensive. Is a major really worth that kind of investment?
Or does s1mple now switch over? Because now that he's won his major,
that's a good question.
Now he's gonna go. He's like, well, I checked this box off. Time to go make waves in the Valorant scene. But I don't know. I mean, like you said, CS:GO's viewership is still there because I have to say Valorant doesn't have maybe the longer esports fans that CS does. I mean, the old guys are watching CSGO, right? Yeah. They're not tuning into Valorant. They don't want to watch that. And so people who aren't necessarily following all the streamers, all the content that's being made in Valorant, they just want to sit back and like turn on the CSGO majors and watch those and enjoy them because they used to play it back in the day, you know? And so I don't know where those two are going to head, because a year ago, people were like, CS is dead. It's never going to happen again. It's never going to be good. Numbers are going down, down, down. And so who knows where we'll end up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very crazy. And I really do hope that one of those teams who left CSGO, maybe with a prominent brand presence, can hop back into North American Counter-Strike and give NA CS. But hey, right now we have NA Valorant. But it's very clear that both these esports, they're not just one region based, right? They're worldwide and they're both doing very, very well. We're going to see a big old shuffle between CSGO and Valorant. We just got to wait and see how it happens. Some good old drama out there, the NFT/Twitch space. You guys are going to enjoy this one. Curious what all of you think about this this whole NFT market. It's pretty wild. I mean, there's certainly some scummy projects. There's some cool ones. We think that it's just it's a market for rich people that we wish we would have been in on early enough, like Nadeshot and Banks and all these other figures who have definitely made some gigantic bags. It's actually involving one of your most watched Twitch streamers of all time, that being Lirik. He had established and set a project for 10,000 personally minted NFTs at $50 a piece.
But there's gonna be 10,000 of them, and they were gonna be, I'm just gonna say it all. Like, some of this, it's like, hey, yeah, we should wait, you know, there's like some precautions, but I don't really give a fuck at this point. Like, I can be transparent as fuck. It was more like, oh, you know, for the reason of launching something and then it being like a bigger splash on release. But there were going to be $50, which is 0.01 roughly ETH. And there was going to be 10,000 mints of Gears art work using different things that have happened on my stream and different items that kind of tie into the channel. Chat, if you're not involved in NFTs, I don't really care what your opinion is. This is for people in the space.
Well, that was a fucking.
It has to do with my channel, and it's just, you know, getting a foot in early.
Still in, aren't we?
I suppose.
If you don't care about it, who cares?
He announced a lot for this. You know, apparently got a lot of backlash for what he had previously said about NFTs. He went on stream to explain it. His chat was not having a good time. This eventually took to LSF, where eventually, I mean, everyone chimed in. It seems that due to backlash for the time being, he has now backed off this $500,000 project.
Lirik is someone I find interesting because we don't talk about him a whole lot here. Even though he's been around for so long, pulls a lot of numbers, has for quite a while, but he kind of stays out of the spotlight as far as drama goes. And
Never in it,
keeps
yeah.
to himself as far as I'm aware. And so this was kind of interesting to see. And I'm not sure where I fall on this, honestly, because the big argument was, hey, he's transparent about this and what it is. He has been. He's talked about it. Everyone is aware of what is happening. I personally think that it's just because of the term NFT and the fact that it is an NFT that people are giving him backlash. If he had sold a physical coin or something, a medal that was like, hey, this is just a collector's edition, I'm going to sell X amount of these. And if anyone wants one, you can buy them for $50. And once they're gone, they're gone. They might increase in value later on. I think that would have been taken better in the current place because on Twitch now, everyone's like, NFTs, you're just trying to scam us, you know?
And speaking of a lot of money, I actually turned down an NFT sponsor recently for $300,000. I turned down a $300,000 sponsor. You want to know why? Because I didn't want to get hate on livestream fail.
And there's a lot about NFTs that we don't know about, so I just want to preface that.
Sure.
Like, I don't really care about this. I enjoyed the talking point and the debate around it all because I just don't know enough. People have questioned the utility of his NFTs. Is it really going to be worth anything in the future, or just kind of just a big old money grab? 10,000 times $50 a piece. That's a big old freaking thing. There's also the environmental questions I'm not going to dive into. But beyond that, he compares it to a merch store. And I'm trying to play both sides here. I certainly understand the skepticism, but I also understand the why do you guys care? It's for his own personal audience. He compares it to a merch drop. You know, you look at Ray, you look at Nickmercs, you got average spenders of $100 orders. You know, some people you see screenshots of $200, $300, $400 worth of product. So to buy an NFT for $50, yeah, that's comparable. But you have then the counter argument to that saying, at least I have a shirt. I can wear a shirt. What can I do with an NFT if it means nothing? And then it comes down to, again, there's so many different angles. He was very transparent. He was very open. If you are a diehard viewer or an audience member of his, you just want to support him and you realize, okay, this could be worth nothing in a year, then so be it. I just don't know where I fall on this. I hate that it's a debate because there's so many different talking points.
And it just seems like you're donating to him and you get a picture back. You know, you get a unique picture back, and as long as you don't post that anywhere, no one will screenshot it, and you'll be okay. And so, I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't understand people getting angry about it. If you didn't like it, don't buy it, you know? I'm sure some people would have bought it. Maybe he would have learned his lesson when only, 100 people bought them. Instead of how many was he making? 10,000?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think he would have sold 10,000. I don't think he would have come close.
But you never know. And if he did, then great. Good for those people who bought them. But if you only sold 100, then he's going to be embarrassed about it. And he's like, wow, that was a bad idea. Sorry, guys.
People forget, like, a lot of esports teams, Sentinels tried this. Sentinels tried to mint, I believe, after Valorant Champions. One of them, they didn't sell all of them. They didn't even Sentinels didn't. And we just forgot about it. It's like, whatever. You tried. Your diehard audience members who hopefully understood the risk, that's a big thing here, bought into. It's just like, last time we talked about Dan Dangler versus Santana, the 50% charity stream. It's just everyone is going to have their opinion, and everyone's entitled to it because I don't think there's a right answer in these kind of cases. So Twitch streamer Lirik has now apparently dropped his NFT project of 10,000 minted for $50 a piece due to a lot of backlash. Do you guys think he made the right or wrong decision?
And I have to say, things not looking really great for Activision Blizzard at this point. We covered this last week, but we've seen issues in both of their two most prominent scenes, I'll say. Let's start with the shorter one, probably. That's going to be Overwatch 2, who we saw Overwatch 2 getting delayed again. And so it just keeps getting pushed back more and more. We talked about this a lot of times. One of the people, the female who was appointed to be one of the co-leaders for a little while, ended up stepping down as well and moving away. And so it's all these signs that, again, just look bad for Overwatch at this point.
And you have constant backlash out there. If it's not going to be a new game, it better freaking be free to play by this point. When you get delayed 2 or 3 times, I think the community is calling for it to be free to play. Otherwise, you're looking at a really, really fast sinking ship. Just in my opinion, you have people like XQC, who is formerly one of your biggest brands and personalities and still the top of Twitch. He calls out Overwatch 2, which is usually not a good look when he's looking down upon your game, and he came from the pro part of your game. To me, it is just, again, there's going to be a lot of things that we do not know about, but there's not many games that we can set as a parallel example to this kind of just poor showing so far.
The current quote-unquote idea, at least in my mind and data that I've gathered, was to be that Overwatch 2 next year was going to be played on Overwatch. Overwatch League was going to be played on Overwatch 2.
Thank you.
To my knowledge, from what I've seen from people tweeting and stuff like that, I don't think that's going to change, but that also doesn't mean they're going to take a year off. I think that honestly, they're probably going to have a special version that they're going to play on while the game is still being made. That sounds kind of scuffed, but in a way, that's actually kind of better for the game, because that would technically build hype for the game outside of just the Overwatch market. However, though, that's the only positive I can see.
Something I find interesting too, along with that, is Overwatch 2 is if we have all these people that are upset by this and it getting pushed back, even XQC talking about, hey, this better not be the same game, and like not being excited about it. We still see teams and people going back to Overwatch as professional players, teams still fielding, our organizations still fielding teams. And it's just so weird to me of how are you affording to play these people, and how are you looking towards the future if the Overwatch viewership isn't there? Overwatch League isn't doing great, lost a lot of sponsors, and Overwatch 2 is getting pushed back even further. It's just wild to me.
It sucks because I don't think esports news is at a point where we can just reach out to an Overwatch League owner, right, of one of the teams and say, what have you been told? What are your thoughts in the future? And how are you not scared as frick right now about the future of Overwatch League? I would hope that one day, for both CDL, OWL, esports in general, that eventually it's worth calling out or reaching out to an owner and people are actually interested to see. As of right now, you don't have too many owners that are tied to Overwatch brands that people would even know.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a different story in CDL and other esports where you could reach out to the Nade Shots, right? You could reach out to Hex. You could reach out to Carlos for League of Legends. The big brand owners that actually pull viewership. So it's hard, but I really would want to know what Overwatch owners are thinking right now. And in general, I want to know what owners who invested in both those franchise leagues are talking, because we know Overwatch 2 is a struggle. CDL is in a boat of its own that's not necessarily, all green things.
Right. So we have CDL, who has typically, as of right now, 12 teams.
Typically they have 12,
but
sometimes
there's been some variance as well, some speculation about, hey, we should add more teams, stuff like that, But right now we have the issue, the weird, I don't even know what to call it, where we have NRG, who owned OpTic, but now OpTic probably going to NAVI.
At the point of this video going live, it should be announced.
Okay.
We just don't know a timeline, so it sucks for the podcast.
We have no idea. It's been announced for a few weeks now.
But it should be, so you guys know. But we're just finding out.
And so OpTic, in theory, going to be at NAVI. So NRG has this spot open.
Chicago spot.
And they, as far as we know, they don't want to field a team. They want to sell that spot because they're not really interested in CDL. They tried it with OpTic. And so what do we do? Do we move forward with only 11 teams, or are they forced to field their 12th team?
And apparently there was going to be that Washington team to actually field that same in Overwatch League, but to come over to CDL as well to field a roster over in Washington. So that was pretty exciting. that deal apparently fell through. You got players who might have been signed in and had to avoid other offers because they thought that team was going to have that slot. It's another reminder to really look over your contracts. That fell through, but apparently, according to Jacob Wolf, that slot is still going to sell. We just don't know now who that spot is going to sell to. But yeah, it's interesting because you look towards someone like Andy over at NRG, and again, it's someone you want to talk to and say, okay, so a while back, Andy Miller was talking about how he was invested into CDL and OWL, and if he had to choose one to go forward with, I believe he kind of hinted at CDL, but that's because he had the Huntsman at that time.
Yeah.
And now the Huntsmen are no longer, and OpTic are no longer with him either. So clearly they have now shifted and saying, all right, we got the most legacied roster in Overwatch League history with the SF Shock. We're going to drop CDL now. It's got to be a headache and a half to try and deal with all of these things.
Yeah.
And now who's going to buy it? And it can't be for full price.
I can't imagine. That's what we talk about that probably every time we talk about CDL is the 20 quote unquote 25 million spot, which some people say costs more, but also you don't have to pay it all at once. So the cost is a little, fluctuating, I feel like. But it's weird when you start comparing these two because, like you said, it was Washington Esports Venture who owns Washington Justice, the Overwatch team, who's thinking about getting into CDL. We have NRG who owns Shock, who was thinking about getting into CDL. Then we have who actually now the Guard, who owns
LA Gladiators,
LA Gladiators as
and
well
LA
as
Gorillas.
LAG, who I think might be the only group who owns both at this point.
I knew the list a long time ago, so let's not speak out of our arse, but you guys, there was a huge list a long time ago, CDL Intel did, of like which ownership groups were in both.
So it's just complicated where you have all these people trying to kind of dip their toes in both, but neither one at this point
And figure it out.
can figure it out or is worth it. Overwatch doesn't seem to have a great future right now, and CDL doesn't seem to be worth it with the prize pools that they have and the huge cost to get into it.
Because I'm not sure, but I think Atlanta Ventures, Atlanta Rain, Atlanta FaZe. So there's probably some other ones. There's several that probably, but again, the fact that we can't name a prominent one that operates in both.
Right.
I mean, it's like, where do you go in the future? And if you're the CDL, can you force NRG to field a roster? You can't force OpTic to field the roster because then there's a conflict of interest of Hex got 10 guys in the field. What's going on here? So it's crazy. At the point of us recording, it's not been announced, but it should be the new OpTic team to be announced with that merger. And I guess we'll see the future of both Overwatch League and CDL. Which one has the brighter future? Which one has the longer future? And if one shuts down, does the other go down right after it? Until next time, we hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast. Same time, same day, every single week. We get to break down all the fun stories out there.
We love that we get to see you all the time. Your beautiful faces.
You guys are beautiful.
We're looking right at you.
Freaking glass-dotted lens, you motherfrickers.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.